What is happening, everyone? Art at Patience Metal Fab, and I want to thank you for tuning in to another one of our episodes. Now, you might have seen our mini-series on the Mercedes camera car that we just wrapped up, and that was pretty cool. More or less a unique build, but we get a lot of those type of builds. Since we're a fabrication shop, this is where those cars end up, whether it's a full race car build on a Camaro like that, whether it's a full EV swap on that Porsche, or something like this GTI all-wheel drive VR6 swap that's going to be kind of a SEMA quality build. We get tons of these types of vehicles in, but the thing that I'm really excited to show you what this little series is going to be about is something incredibly unique, something that we probably won't get in the shop ever again. So without spilling the beans, I'm going to walk through the shop, show you some of our current builds, and then we'll get to the main event, so to speak. In that quick walkthrough, you got a chance to see some of the current projects that we have, and there's going to be a lot of stuff going on with those. Each one is special in its own way, and I'm going to be highlighting them in the next weeks and months, showing you what's going on there. But I think it's appropriate that we start with this car because I still think it is the most unique build that we've gotten through here, maybe ever. And someone of my age in their early 30s, that kind of holds a special place in their heart because when I was a kid, I grew up watching a version of this car on screen. And so without much further ado, what we have in the shop is the 1980s Batmobile. Now, the first thing I should mention is this isn't the Batmobile from the movies. Those are millions of dollars each, and they're in private collections. But what this is a really spot-on replica of the car. I mean, this thing, if you saw it driving down the highway, which eventually we intend to do, if you saw it, you wouldn't know the difference. It is huge and imposing, and the attention to detail is pretty incredible on this thing. So whoever actually made it put so much time and effort and money into this. I mean, just the amount of fiberglass work and the chassis design. This is basically two different cars welded together. There's a lot of stuff that's going on underneath. We can't touch on all of it, but we can talk about what we're doing with it. Why is it at Patience Metal Fab? What's our responsibility and what is going to be done to it before it leaves our doors? Now, the man to talk to you about that is Gary. He's one of the owners of PMF, and he happens to be standing right here. So let's have a chat on what's going on with this build.
What's up, Art?
Nothing. Why do we have the Batmobile in our shop?
Similar to a lot of projects we get, somebody bought it, it was supposed to be one thing, and the workmanship kind of wasn't there.
Right, so as often happens, our shop gets builds that other shops weren't able to handle or just wouldn't take on as a job. So what did it originally come in here for?
So the original idea, it had kind of the car's equipped with air ride. It had an older system on it, a very manual system, so manual switches mounted down in the middle. The guy didn't want to have to control that in that manner anymore, so we're going to a much more modern system on it by AccuAir. Allows him to control it from his phone. It'll have 3 predetermined ride heights so that he's able to actually just push of a button, be able to make sure he's level at all times and at a ride height that he wants to be at.
Now it has modern air ride suspension, and we'll get a clip of that once everything's fully operational, the car going up and down. And you really need something like that because this car is crazy low. And so you're driving this down the highway, you don't want to destroy the very expensive fiberglass bodywork on it. As often does, we take on one project and that ends up building more projects within itself. So the air ride was addressed, but then this giant cluster of wiring kind of had to be addressed as well. So that's another project we took on. What are we doing with it now?
Yeah, so jumping into it, trying to add the air ride to the system. We see with a lot of projects, the wirings where a lot of projects fall short. So we were not able to just simply put the air ride in. He also wants to automate the canopy, another electrical demand that, based on the way the car was wired, wasn't able to be done. So we had to add a different power distribution module, which this is what we use right here. This is the AIM PDM. We use it in all the race cars we build, so naturally being comfortable with it, we're going to use it in an application like this. Unfortunately, timeline's not going to allow us to completely rewire this car the way we should. It will be back next winter for that. In the meantime, this gives us a backbone to really build on top of. So anything that's added to the car at this point, we're outfitting properly, and then everything else can be addressed after the fact.
Exactly. In a perfect world, how we usually do things is we would want to clean up that wiring as much as possible, get rid of things we don't need, and just make it kind of a total package. But time doesn't always allow for that, and we only have really a few weeks to button this car up at this point. Doesn't mean we can't do that stuff when it comes back in the next time.
Absolutely.
So, you did mention the Canopy, though, and if you guys have seen the Batman movies, Batman and Batman Returns, I think it's 85 and 93, if I did my research correctly, this car should also have a Canopy, and we do have one for it. We're going to be putting kind of an automated track, just like in the movie, to be able to, you know, have the visual of it moving out rather than, I assume it was just a manual lift up.
Yeah, it was manual before, and now he'll actually have a remote control. So we built a control box for it that runs a basic just open close remote. So it'll allow us to actually automate the thing, which will be a lot cooler when you're standing outside the car, click the button, and you know.
And you get out in a Batman outfit. You have to, right?
Exactly.
All right, so those are the big three things that we need to do. Air ride, which is done mostly. We need to do the wiring, which is a huge mess, and that is something Gary's gonna be working on for at least the next few days. And then the Canopy portion, how we're gonna do that, I'm not exactly sure. It's something we need to draft up. Now, my big question for Gary was, what's going on in the passenger seat? Because it looks like a welding station here. And apparently that's an acetylene tank for the flamethrowers on this car. There's one in the rear and there are two up front because these guns right here actually actuate upward, just like in the movie. I didn't know that. I thought these were just covers. So he promised me, and I didn't get it on video, but yes, you promised me that we're gonna be able to, at the very least, show them off. Maybe even spit a little flame at some point. So I'm gonna hold him to that. But I'm gonna show you some more beauty shots of the car, and then we're probably gonna wrap this episode and pretty much immediately start filming all of the things we're gonna do for the next one. So if you enjoyed this one, we appreciate it. Share it around, like it, subscribe to the page. That would do us a huge favor. And stay tuned for much more on the Batmobile. What a crazy car that we've gotten.